In the dark corner of an old medical station, a small chamber was silent. Machines that once gave life were now broken, their lights cold, their sounds gone. Inside the chamber, a young girl lay still, her skin pale, her breathing weak. Doctors had walked away from her hours ago, their voices filled with hopeless words. "She will not live," they said, shaking their heads. "She is a failed experiment," one whispered. "There is no reason to waste more power on her." And so they left her surrounded by cold wires and broken screens. The girl was only a shadow of life, abandoned to die in silence. But not everyone walked away. In the corridor outside, a human soldier passed by, his boots heavy on the metal floor. He had no reason to stop, no order to care. Yet something inside him made him slow down. A faint sound, almost like a weak heartbeat, reached his ears. He turned, his eyes scanning the shadows, until they fell on the forgotten chamber. He stepped closer, his hand brushing away the dust on the glass of the pod. Inside he saw her, small, fragile, and almost gone. Her chest rose and fell, but so weak it could end at any moment. The soldier felt something tighten inside him. This was not a weapon, not an experiment, not a number. This was a child, left to die alone. For a long moment he stood still, hearing the echo of the doctor's words in his head. "Leave her, she cannot be saved." It would have been easy to obey, easy to keep walking, but his heart did not agree. He remembered the war, the faces of those he had lost, the ones one had tried to save. He clenched his fist and made a choice. The soldier unlocked the chamber with trembling hands. The hiss of escaping air filled the silent room. He lifted the girl gently, as if she were made of glass. Her body was cold, her pulse fading. He whispered to her, though he knew she could not hear. "You are not alone. Not while I am here." Carrying her through empty corridors was dangerous. If anyone saw, questions would be asked, orders would be given, and disobedience meant punishment. Still he walked, his arms steady, his steps quick. Every corner felt like a trap, every shadow like an enemy. Yet he did not stop, because turning back meant her death. He found an old storage room hidden behind locked doors. There, in the darkness, he placed her on a thin blanket. Her breathing was shallow, each breath a fight. He searched the dusty shelves for anything useful, old medical kits, broken injectors, bottles of faded medicine. Most were useless, but he tried anyway. Every second he feared it was too late. Hours passed in silence, broken only by his whispers. "Stay alive, little one. Do not give up." He cleaned her wounds, fixed small wires that could still give her energy. His hands were clumsy, not trained for healing, but filled with determination. Still, the girl's eyes remained closed, her body unmoving. At times he thought she was already gone. At times he almost lost hope. But then it happened. Her fingers twitched, just a small movement, but enough to make him freeze. Her lips parted, a soft breath escaped. Her chest lifted stronger than before, and for the first time, her eyes opened, weak, glassy but alive. The soldier leaned closer, afraid she would slip away again. She looked at him, confusion and pain in her gaze. Her lips moved, forming a single word. It was so faint he almost missed it. But when he heard, his heart pounded like thunder. She whispered, "Why? Why had he saved her when others had left her? Why did he care when even the doctors had abandoned her?" The soldier could not answer. He only placed his hand gently on hers and said, "Because you deserve to live." In that moment, something changed. The hopeless girl was no longer just an experiment. The lonely soldier was no longer just a fighter. Two lives had crossed in secret against all rules. And from that forbidden choice, a story greater than both of them was about to begin. For now, the girl rested, her heartbeat steady, her eyes closing again in fragile sleep. But the soldier knew danger was close. If the commanders discovered what he had done, he would lose everything. Still, he did not care. He had seen death too many times, and this time he had chosen life. He looked at her one last time before turning off the lights. His whisper filled the room like a promise. They left you to die, but I will not leave you. In the silent darkness, the bond between them began to grow, and far away, in the heart of the station, alarms were already waking. Someone had noticed something was missing, and soon, the hunt would begin. The soldier sat in the dark storage room, his eyes fixed on the fragile girl lying on the blanket. Her breathing was steadier now, but still weak, like a candle flame ready to go out. He had given her what little help he could, but it was not enough. She needed real care, real medicine, real equipment. Yet going back to the medical wing was impossible. The doctors had abandoned her once, and if they saw her alive again, they would end her for good. The soldier leaned against the wall, his thoughts heavy. He was trained to follow orders, not to break them. Since his first day in uniform, he had been told again and again, obey without question, a soldier's duty is loyalty. But tonight he had broken that rule. He had chosen to save someone he was ordered to leave behind. And you are. The weight of that choice pressed hard against his chest. Somewhere outside, alarms echoed faintly through the metal halls. They were not close yet, but he knew what they meant. The station systems had noticed something unusual. Maybe the open chamber, maybe the missing child. It was only a matter of time before someone connected the dots. He looked at the girl again. Her small face was pale but peaceful in her fragile sleep. She looked nothing like the weapon the doctors had whispered about, nothing like the failed experiment the commanders wanted forgotten. She looked human, innocent, helpless, and that truth filled him with fire. He had seen war's cruelty. He had seen how lives were thrown away, but not this time, not her. He stood up quickly, making his decision. If he stayed here, they would find them both, and if they found her, she would die. He needed to move, to escape the station. But where could he go, when every exit was guarded, every corridor watched? The soldier clenched, his jaw, his mind racing for answers. He remembered the lower decks, old sections of the station long abandoned, rusty, cold, filled with broken machines and forgotten tunnels. No one went there anymore, no one cared, it was the only chance. If he could hide her there, maybe they would survive long enough to find another way. Carefully, he lifted her again, wrapping her in his worn jacket. She stirred slightly, whispering a sound he could not understand. Her small hand gripped the edge of his sleeve, even in sleep. The soldier's chest tightened. She trusted him without knowing his name, without knowing why he was doing this, and that trust gave him strength. He slipped into the corridor, his steps silent, his heart loud. The station felt different now. Every corner was danger. Every shadow was a pair of watching eyes. Voices echoed in the distance, orders being shouted. They will search every level, he thought. They will not stop. Still, he walked, carrying her like the most precious thing in the universe. Twice, he almost got caught. Once when a pair of guards passed by, their scanners glowing red. He pressed himself against the wall, holding his breath. The girl's small heartbeat against his chest was the only sound he heard. The guards walked on, their laughter fading into the distance. The second time, a camera light blinked above him. For a moment he thought it had seen him, but then the screen glitched, the old wires failing, and he hurried past. At last, he reached the lower decks. The doors groaned open with a sound of rust and dust. Inside, the air was cold and heavy, filled with shadows. Broken lights flickered weakly, throwing strange shapes on the walls. It was dangerous, yes, but safer than anywhere else. No one would look for them here, not yet. He placed the girl down on a soft pile of cloth. She opened her eyes for a moment, her voice weak. "Where am I?" she asked, her words trembling. The soldier knelt beside her. "Safe," he said softly. "You are safe now." She closed her eyes again, her hand still clutching his sleeve. He could not let go, even if he wanted to. For hours he sat there, listening to the hum of broken machines. Every sound outside made his heart race. But in the silence between, he thought about her question. Why had he done this? Why had he risked everything? He had no simple answer. All he knew was that when he saw her left behind, something inside him had refused to accept it. She deserved life, and he would fight anyone who tried to take it away. But the soldier also knew the truth. This was only the beginning. The commanders would not stop searching. The doctors would not stop hunting. Soon, they would discover more than he ever imagined. The girl was not just human, not just a child. She carried something within her, something powerful, something dangerous. And when it awakened, the universe itself would tremble. For now, though, the soldier watched her sleep. His choice was clear, his path already written. He had turned against orders, against the system he once served. There was no going back, only forward, into danger, into darkness, into hope. Somewhere deep in the station, a voice on the intercom rang out. "All units, be alert. A missing subject has been reported." The soldier closed his eyes, whispering under his breath, "They are coming." And in the silence of the abandoned decks, his grip on his weapon tightened. He had chosen to fight, and he would not fail her now. The abandoned decks were silent, filled only with the hum of dying machines and the hiss of broken pipes. The soldier sat in the corner of the room, his weapon resting on his knee, his eyes never leaving the fragile figure lying on the blanket. He had carried her away from death, hidden her from the eyes of the commanders, and risked everything against his own orders. Yet doubt still haunted him. What if the doctors were right? What if saving her was a mistake? The girl looked so weak, her breathing soft, her skin pale like fading light. For hours she had not moved, and at times he wondered if her small heart had finally stopped. But then her fingers would twitch, or her lips would part as if whispering a dream, and hope would burn in his chest once more. He wanted to believe that she could live, that she was more than what the doctors claimed. He wanted to believe that his choice had meaning. The soldier tried everything he could with the scraps he found in the forgotten room. He used broken medical tools, patched together wires, and even old rations soaked into water to keep her alive. None of it was enough, but he refused to stop. He spoke to her in the long hours of silence, telling her stories of stars he had seen, of battles fought, of the faces he could not forget. He did not know if she heard him, but his voice filled the dark with something warmer than fear. Then one night, as the station groaned with distant alarms, something changed. Her eyes opened slowly, not wide and strong, but enough to catch the faint light. They were a strange color, almost glowing under the flickering lamp. The soldier froze, his breath caught in his throat. She was awake, weak, but awake. Her lips trembled, forming broken words that carried more weight than any weapon he had ever held. She whispered, "Who are you?" The soldier leaned closer, his voice gentle. "I am no one important, just a man who could not leave you behind." Her eyes blinked slowly, filled with confusion, filled with pain. "Why?" she asked again, just as she had whispered before. The question cut into him, sharper than any blade. Why indeed? He had no orders, no reason, no promise to keep, only his heart that had refused to let her die alone. "Because you deserve to live," he said quietly, and for a moment her lips curved as if she almost smiled. Her recovery was slow, each hour a struggle. She could sit up now, though her arms trembled with the effort. She could speak in short whispers, though her voice cracked with weakness. The soldier watched her like a guardian, every small sign of life filling him with pride and fear, pride that she was fighting, fear that the commanders would find them before she grew strong. He had chosen this path, but the danger grew heavier with every day. As she grew more aware, fragments of memory began to surface in her broken words. She spoke of white rooms and sharp lights, of needles that burned and voices that argued. She spoke of tests, of numbers written on her skin, of nights spent alone in silence. The soldier's chest tightened with rage. They had treated her not as a child, not as a human, but as a tool. And when she had failed to meet their cold standards, they had chosen to throw her away. But there was more, hidden deep in her trembling words. She remembered flashes of strange power inside her veins, a burning light that scared even the doctors, Sometimes her hands shook with sparks she could not explain. Sometimes her heartbeat raced with unnatural strength. It was then the soldier understood why they had abandoned her, not because she was weak, but because she was dangerous, because she carried something they could not control. The soldier listened, but he did not flinch. He looked at her trembling hands and saw not a weapon, but a child. He placed his own hand over hers, steady and warm. You are not what they say. You are more than their fear. You are alive, and that is enough. Her eyes filled with tears, her small frame shaking. For the first time, someone had told her she was more than an experiment. For the first time, she was not alone. Days passed in the shadows of the abandoned decks. The girl grew stronger, walking short steps, eating what little food he could find. The soldier taught her to breathe slowly, to calm the sparks that frightened her. Together they built a fragile world, a secret bond in the dark. Yet outside their hidden corner, the search grew louder. Guards marched closer. Scanners swept the station. Whispers of a missing subject spread among the crew. Time was running out. One night the girl looked at him with serious eyes. They will find us, won't they? She asked. Her voice was small, but her gaze was steady. The soldier did not lie. Yes, they will. She looked down, her hands trembling. Then, what will you do? He met her eyes, his jaw tight. I will protect you no matter what it costs. She said nothing, only leaned against him, her heartbeat stronger now. And in that moment the soldier knew his choice was not a mistake. Against all orders, against all logic, he had given her life. And with every breath she took, with every spark of strength she found, he knew the fight ahead would be worth it. For outside, beyond the walls of the station, the universe waited. And soon, both of them would discover that her life was not only a second chance, but the key to something far greater, something that could change everything. The station was no longer quiet. What had once been only faint alarms and distant orders had now grown into constant echoes of boots on metal floors and voices crackling through speakers. The commanders had spread the word across every deck. Subject missing, search all levels. No one dared question, no one dared disobey. For them, it was just another order, another task. But for the soldier and the fragile girl hidden in the shadows, it meant the beginning of the hunt. He had known this moment would come, but the speed of it shook him. The scanners grew sharper, the guards more restless. The doors that once creaked with neglect now hissed open with squads moving through, carrying weapons and lights. The lower decks, forgotten for years, were suddenly alive with footsteps. The soldier sat in the dark with the girl beside him, listening to the sound of the hunt drawing closer. His hand rested on his weapon, but his mind was torn. How long could he protect her in this place? How long before they were cornered? The girl leaned against him, her breath uneven. She was stronger than before, able to stand, able to whisper words without breaking. But she was not ready to run. Her body trembled at every loud sound, her eyes wide with fear. They are coming, she whispered. He nodded, his voice steady though his heart raced. Yes, but we will not let them take you. That night, he led her deeper into the maze. Of broken corridors, every path was dark, filled with rusted pipes and loose wires. Sometimes sparks lit the air, sometimes smoke hissed from cracked walls. It was dangerous, but danger was better than capture. The soldier moved with care, every sense sharp, every shadow a possible threat. Behind them, the sound of boots grew, louder, lights flashing like hunting eyes through the steel. They reached an old maintenance shaft, narrow and steep. Can you climb? He asked. The girl looked at the ladder with fear, but nodded slowly. He helped her place her hands on the cold bars, staying close behind as she climbed. Her breaths were shaky, her arms weak, but she did not stop. Step by step, they rose higher, the sound of searching voices echoing below. At one moment her hand slipped, her small body trembling as she almost fell, but his strong hand caught her wrist and steadied her. Do not look down. Just keep going, he said firmly, and she obeyed. At the top, they found a narrow passage, Leading into another deck, dust fell from the ceiling, the air heavy with age. Yet it was quiet here, away from the noise for a short moment. The soldier let her rest, sitting against the wall. Her face was pale, sweat on her forehead. But there was determination in her eyes. "They will not stop, will they?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "No, they will not, because they fear what you are, what you might become." Her eyes lowered, her voice trembling. "Then maybe I should go back. Maybe if they take me, you will be safe." His hand tightened. On her shoulder, his voice sharp. "Never say that. Your life matters more than their orders, more than their fear. I will not let them take you." For a moment, silence filled the space between them, and then the girl nodded, her gaze steady. She no longer asked why. She only accepted his words, and in her eyes, for the first time, there was trust without doubt, but their silence did not last. The sound of boots returned, closer now. Guards shouted to one another, their scanners sweeping the corridors. The soldier stood, his jaw tight. "We move," he whispered. He led her through the narrow path until they reached a broken airlock door. Beyond it was a service tunnel that connected to the hangar bays. If they could reach a ship, any ship, they could escape the station entirely, but the tunnel was not empty. Ahead, 2 guards stood with flashlights scanning the dark. The soldier pulled the girl close against the wall, waiting. His mind raced. 2 against him might be possible, but not without noise, not without risk. He felt the girl's hand clutching his sleeve, her body tense. She looked up at him and whispered, "You saved me. Let me help you." Before he could stop her, the air around her shifted. Her hands glowed faintly, sparks flickering like lightning in the dark. The soldier's eyes widened. It was the power she had spoken of, the power that had terrified the doctors. Her small frame trembled as the energy built, and then, in a burst of light, the tunnel flashed. The guards shouted, their weapons raised, but the spark struck the floor, blinding them. The soldier reacted fast, rushing forward and striking them down before they could recover. When the light faded, the girl collapsed into his arms, weak and shaking, her eyes filled with tears. I did not mean to," she whispered. He held her close, his voice firm. "Do not be afraid, you are not a monster, you saved us." But deep inside, he knew the truth. If the commanders had doubted her survival before, now they would hunt her with even greater fury, because her power was real. Together they stepped over the unconscious guards, moving deeper into the tunnel. The girl's steps were unsteady, but her hand never let go of his. The soldier looked ahead, knowing the chase had only begun. Every choice from here would be harder, every moment more dangerous. But he did not regret his path. For the first time since the doctors abandoned her, the girl was not running toward death, she was running toward life, and he was running with her, no matter what the cost. They would face the hunt together. The stolen silence of the tunnel did not last. Each step the soldier took carried them closer to the hangar bays, but also closer to discovery. Behind them, the echoes of shouting guards grew louder, and the alarm lights painted the walls red like blood. The girl clung to his side, her body weak from the burst of strange energy she had released. Her eyes were wide, filled with fear and confusion. She did not understand what had happened, and neither did he. When they finally stopped to rest in a dark corner, the soldier crouched beside her. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed worry. "You used something back there, something powerful." The girl trembled, hugging herself tightly. "I did not mean to. It just happened. I felt scared, and then the sparks came. The doctors hated it. They said it was wrong, unnatural." She looked down at her small hands as if they belonged to someone else. "Sometimes I feel like I do not belong in this body." The soldier shook his head firmly. "No, do not believe their lies. You are human. You are alive. And nothing about that is wrong." But deep inside, he could not shake the unease. Her power was real, and it was dangerous. He had seen men, burned by energy weapons, seen entire walls torn apart by bombs, but never had he seen such force come from a single fragile child. As they rested, fragments of her memory began to surface. At first, it was only broken whispers, then more complete images. She remembered bright white rooms where voices spoke in cold tones. She remembered machines that scanned her blood, doctors arguing about her test results. She remembered being told she was special, different, made for a purpose she could not understand. Her small voice trembled as she said, "They did not want me to be me. They wanted me to be something else, something they could use." The soldier listened in silence, his jaw tight. He had suspected it, but hearing the truth from her lips filled him with rage. She had not been abandoned because she was weak. She had been abandoned because she carried a secret too big to control. She was not only an experiment, she was a creation, a weapon hidden in the body of a child. And when she had failed to meet their standards, they had thrown her aside like broken metal. Her tears fell silently as she looked at him. "Am I a monster?" she asked. The words tore into him like blades. He pulled her close, holding her trembling shoulders. "No, you are not a monster. Monsters are the ones who tried to break you. You are more human than all of them." She buried her face against him, her sobs soft but filled with pain. For the first time she was not just remembering, she was sharing. And for the first time someone listened without fear, without judgment, but as the truth unfolded, danger grew heavier. In the distance, the sound of ships activating filled the hangar bays. The commanders had given the order to seal the station. No one in or out. The soldier realized escape would not be simple. They were not just running from guards anymore, they were running from the entire system. A system that wanted the girl erased. He studied her fragile face as she slept for a short while. Her cheeks damp with tears. Her small frame curled like a child seeking warmth. Yet within her was something greater than any weapon he had seen, something even she did not yet understand. He knew then that her secret was more than just power. It was a truth that could shake the balance of everything they knew. When she woke again, her voice was quiet. "I remember something else, they said my blood was different, that it carried light." The soldier frowned. "Light?" She nodded, her eyes distant. "They said I was part of a project, Project Dawn. I do not know what it means, but they said if I lived, I could change the war." Her voice broke. "But if I died, it would not matter, because they could always try again." The soldier's fists clenched. His rage was silent but burning. They had tried to create life only to destroy it. They had taken a child and turned her into an experiment, and yet in doing so they had created something they could not control, something human enough to feel fear, pain, and hope. He looked into her eyes and spoke firmly. "You are not Project Dawn. You are not their creation. You are you, and that is enough." The girl nodded slowly, her fear easing just a little. She held his hand tightly as if the contact kept her anchored to reality. And in that moment, the soldier realized something deeper. The truth was not only about what she was, but about what she could become. The doctors had feared her power. The commanders wanted her erased. But he saw in her not destruction, but possibility. Not a weapon, but hope. Outside, the hunt continued. Louder now. Guards spread through every corridor. Scanners pulsed like red eyes searching the shadows. The soldier knew they could not stay hidden much longer. The truth was out, and the truth demanded action. He tightened his grip on his weapon and looked at her. "We cannot run forever soon. They will force us to fight." She looked at him with tired eyes but nodded. "Then I will fight with you." He shook his head. "No, not yet. You are still healing, still learning who you are. Leave the fight. To me." But she pressed her hand to his chest, her voice steady despite her trembling. "I am not afraid anymore, not while you are here." The soldier's heart tightened at her words. He had broken every order, betrayed everything he was trained to be. Yet in this fragile child, he had found something worth more than any duty. She was not only his burden, she was his reason. And though the universe might soon rise against them, he knew he would not let go. As the red lights flashed above and the echoes of the hunt grew closer, the soldier whispered to himself, "The truth is out now. And because of it, Everything will change. He lifted her into his arms once more, ready to face whatever waited. Beyond the next door, for the truth was not the end, it was only the beginning, the hangar bay was filled with light and sound. Sirens screamed through the air, red alarms flashed across the steel walls, and soldiers lined the walkways above, weapons ready. The soldier stood at the edge of the shadows, the girl close beside him. He had brought her this far, through tunnels, through silence, through fear. But now there was no place left to run. The only path forward was here, among enemies who waited like wolves. He could feel her small hand trembling in his grip. Yet her eyes were steady. The fear that once ruled her had been replaced by something else, a quiet strength. She was no longer only the child abandoned in a medical pod. She was something more, though she did not yet understand how much more. The soldier looked down at her and whispered, "Stay behind me. No matter what happens, do not let them see your fear." She nodded, her lips pressed tight. They stepped into the hangar and the shouting began. "There! Stop them!" Dozens of rifles raised, their glowing sights fixed on the pair. The soldier lifted his own weapon, his heart steady. He knew he could not win against all of them, but he also knew he could not surrender. He had chosen this path, and there was no turning back. The first shots rang out, bright streams of energy cutting across the air. The soldier moved quickly, shielding the girl, firing back with sharp precision. Every movement was survival, every second a gift he bought. With his own strength, but for each enemy that fell, more stepped forward. Their voices filled with anger and fear. Above the chaos, the commanders watched from the high platform, their eyes cold. One of them shouted, "Do not destroy the child. She must be taken alive." The girl's chest tightened at those words. She was no longer a human in their eyes, no longer even a child. She was a prize, a weapon to be captured. The soldier heard it too, and his rage burned hotter. He shouted back, his voice echoing through the hangar, "She is not yours." His defiance only made them fire harder. The ground shook with explosions, the air filled with smoke and fire. Then it happened again. The girl's hands sparked, her small body glowing with the strange energy buried inside her. She gasped, frightened. But this time she did not collapse. Her power grew, filling the air with crackling light. The soldiers hesitated, their eyes wide. They had seen weapons before, but never this. The commander shouted in panic, "Stop her, now!" The soldier turned to her, his voice urgent. "Listen to me. If you use this power, it could destroy you. Do not let it take everything from you." She shook her head, tears filling her eyes. "If I do nothing, they will take you. They will. Take me. I cannot let that happen." The soldier gripped her shoulders, his voice trembling for the first time. "I would rather die fighting than watch you burn yourself away. Please, do not do this." Her gaze met his, steady despite her tears. "You gave me life when no one else would. You showed me I am more than an experiment. If I must choose, then I will choose to protect you, even if it ends me." The soldier's throat tightened. He wanted to stop her, to shield her, but he saw in her eyes a will that was stronger than fear, stronger even than death. The energy burst from her like a storm, the hangar filled with blinding light. Sparks raced across the walls, tearing through metal and machines. Soldiers screamed, their weapons falling silent. The commanders stumbled, back, their orders drowned in chaos. The soldier shielded his face, but even through the brightness he kept his eyes on her. Her small body stood at the center of the storm, her voice breaking through the roar. "I am not your weapon. I am not your monster. I am alive." The blast shook the station. The glass windows above shattered, the steel floor cracked. For a moment it felt as if the entire hangar would tear apart. And then, as quickly as it began, the light faded. Smoke filled the air. Silence followed. The destruction. The soldier opened his eyes and saw her collapsed on the floor, her body trembling. He rushed to her side, lifting her into his arms. Her skin was pale, her heartbeat weak. Her eyes fluttered open for a moment, and she whispered, "Did I save you?" The soldier held her tightly, his voice breaking. "Yes, you did. You saved me. You saved both of us." Her lips curved into the faintest smile, and then her eyes closed. Around them, the hangar was ruined. Soldiers lay scattered, The commanders had fled. The path to the ships was open, but the soldier did not move. His arms held the girl as if she were the most fragile thing in the universe. He knew she was still alive, but he also knew the price she had paid. Her power was not endless, and every time she used it, she lost a part of herself. He whispered to her, his voice steady despite the weight in his chest. You should not have to choose between life and sacrifice. You are only a child. You deserve a chance to live without fear. But deep inside, he knew the choice was not his alone. She had already chosen. She had chosen to protect him, to protect herself, to fight for the life they both believed in. The soldier lifted his eyes to the stars beyond the broken hangar doors. The chase was not over. The war was not finished. But the final battle of choice had already been made. And because of her courage, the universe would never see her as just an experiment again. The hangar bay lay in ruins. Smoke curled from broken walls, sparks flickered from shattered machines, and the bodies of defeated soldiers lay silent on the cold steel floor. At the center of it all stood the soldier, his arms wrapped tightly around the small girl who had unleashed a storm greater than anything he had ever seen. She was breathing, but faintly, each breath shallow and weak. Her power had saved them, but it had also drained the very life from her fragile body. He carried her slowly across the wreckage, his boots heavy, his heart heavier. Around them, the chaos had fallen quiet. The commanders were gone, the soldiers defeated. The alarms still echoed, but the chase had ended here. For the first time, there was silence, and yet that silence felt heavier than war. The soldier laid her gently on the floor near the broken hangar doors, beyond which the stars glowed bright and endless. Her eyes fluttered open, just barely. She looked at him, her lips trembling as if forming words she did not have the strength to speak. He bent close, his voice soft. Do not leave me. You are stronger than this. Hold on. She gave a weak smile. I am tired, she whispered. But I am not afraid anymore. Her words struck him deeper than any blade. He wanted to tell her she could rest, but he could not, because rest meant letting go. And letting go meant losing her forever. He remembered the first time he had seen her lying abandoned in that medical pod, the doctors walking away without care. She had been left to die, but he had chosen differently. He had chosen life for her, even when no one else believed. Now, as her small hand lay cold in his, he faced that choice again. Only this time he could not carry her out of death with strength alone. This battle was not one his weapon or his training could win. It was hers alone. The soldier bowed his head, his voice breaking as he whispered, If you must go, then know this. You were never an experiment to me. You were never a weapon. You were a child, alive, brave, and full of hope. And you changed me. You gave me a reason to fight when I had none. A tear slipped down his cheek, falling onto her pale skin. Her lips moved once more, whispering words so faint he almost did not hear them. Because you chose me, I lived. Then her eyes closed and her body fell still. For a moment the world stopped. The soldier's heart thundered in his chest as he held her lifeless form. His hands shook, his vision blurred. It felt as if everything he had fought for had been ripped away. The universe, for all its stars, had grown empty. He cried out, his voice echoing through the hangar, a sound of pain, of rage, of loss too great to carry. Yet even in that moment he felt something strange. Her body was still, but her chest glowed faintly, a soft light flickering from within. He stared in disbelief as the glow grew brighter. The girl's body remained weak, lifeless. Yet the light spread from her chest through her veins, shimmering like starlight. He remembered her words. They said my blood carried light. At first, he thought it was only a memory, but now he saw the truth. The light was real and it had not died. Slowly the glow spread, filling the air around her. It touched his hands, warm and steady, and he realized she was not gone, not completely. Her voice returned, not with sound, but with presence, soft and clear inside his mind. "Do not cry. I am still here," he gasped, his eyes wide. She was beyond the weakness of her body, beyond death itself. Her light was alive, carried not in flesh but in something greater. She had transcended the cage they built for her. The soldier held her close, feeling the warmth of the light even as her body remained still. Tears fell again. But this time they were not only sorrow, they were awe. The hangar doors groaned as distant explosions shook the station. The war outside still raged, the system still stood. But in that moment, he knew the universe had already changed. The doctors had tried to destroy her. The commanders had tried to erase her, but she had become something they could never touch, hope itself. Her sacrifice had not ended in silence. It had created something eternal. He lifted his eyes to the stars beyond, carrying her glowing form in his arms. "You are more than they ever imagined, more than they ever feared," he whispered. "You are proof that even in the darkest places, light can survive." He walked toward the broken hangar doors, not as a soldier running from orders, but as a guardian carrying hope. The galaxy might still hunt him, might still try to erase her memory, but they would fail because what she had become could not be destroyed. As he stepped into the waiting ship, the engines rumbled to life. The glow of her light filled the cabin, soft and warm. He sat in the pilot's seat, her small body in his arms, his voice steady. "We will go where they cannot find us. We will carry this light to places they cannot reach. And one day, they will see, they will understand that hope is stronger than fear." The ship lifted slowly, rising into the black sky, leaving the ruins of the station behind. The stars welcomed them, endless and bright. And though her body lay silent, her light burned stronger than ever. She was not gone. She was transformed. The soldier looked out at the galaxy ahead, his heart steady for the first time in years. The journey would be long, the dangers many, but he no longer carried his burden alone. He carried her light, and with it, the hope of something greater than war. In the end, the doctors had left her to die. The commanders had called her a failed creation. But one human had chosen differently, and because of that choice, because he refused to give up on her, she had become something eternal. Hope beyond death.